There's a pattern many emotionally intelligent people notice later in life. You don't seek out toxic people. You don't enjoy drama. You don't manipulate, control, or play mind games. And yet somehow, manipulative people keep finding their way into your life. They open up to you quickly. They lean on you emotionally. They test your boundaries. They slowly take more than they give. And when things finally collapse, you're left wondering, why does this keep happening to me? Social psychology has a very clear answer. Manipulative people are not drawn to weakness. They are drawn to psychological availability. And people like you often have far more of it than you realize. 1. Manipulative people are drawn to emotional transparency. Most people hide their emotions behind social masks. You don't. You express empathy openly. You listen without judgment. You validate feelings naturally. You don't weaponize vulnerability. In social psychology, this is known as emotional openness. To healthy people, this feels safe. To manipulative people, this feels accessible. They sense. You'll listen. You won't immediately push back. You'll try to understand instead of defend. You'll give the benefit of the doubt. This doesn't make you naive. It makes you readable. And manipulators prefer readable people. 2. You have high empathy, and that lowers your guard. Empathy is a powerful trait. But without boundaries, it becomes a liability. Social psychology refers to this pattern as empathic overextension. It happens when you explain away bad behavior. You assume pain instead of intent. You stay curious when you should be cautious. You prioritize understanding over self-protection. Manipulative people exploit this unconsciously. They share trauma early. They frame themselves as misunderstood. They hint at abandonment wounds. They trigger your compassion. Not because they trust you, but because they know empathy delays confrontation. 3. Manipulators test boundaries slowly, not aggressively. One of the biggest myths about manipulation is that it's obvious. It's not. Manipulative people don't cross boundaries loudly. They nudge them quietly. Social psychology calls this incremental boundary erosion. It looks like small requests that escalate. Jokes that feel slightly off. Emotional dependence disguised as closeness. Guilt framed as vulnerability. Pressure disguised as need. You don't react because each step feels minor. And by the time you notice, the dynamic is already unbalanced. 4. You see potential, they see opportunity. You often see people for who they could be. Manipulative people see people for what they can extract. This creates a dangerous mismatch. Social psychology describes this as asymmetric perception. You assume growth. They assume leverage. You assume mutuality. They assume advantage. This is why you often feel blindsided. You were playing a long-term, human game. They were playing a short-term, strategic one. 5. Highly aware people are slower to assume malice. Because you understand human behavior deeply, you hesitate to label someone as manipulative. You consider context, trauma, insecurity, stress, past experiences. This is called cognitive empathy. And while it's a strength, it can delay necessary action. Manipulative people benefit from this delay. They operate best in gray areas, where intentions are unclear and accountability is postponed. 6. Manipulators are repelled by one thing: clear boundaries. Here's the truth that changes everything. Manipulative people are not powerful. They are adaptive. They stay where resistance is low, and leave where boundaries are firm. The moment you say no without explanation, stop over-justifying, disengage instead of arguing, Hold silence instead of defending. Prioritize behavior over words. The dynamic collapses. Social psychology calls this boundary signaling. It communicates. I see the pattern, and I won't participate. Manipulators don't fight this. They retreat. 7. Why this is not your fault. If manipulators keep appearing in your life, it does not mean you attract toxicity. It means you carry empathy, patience, emotional intelligence, psychological availability, relational depth. These are not weaknesses. They simply require protection. The reframe you need. You don't attract manipulative people because you're easy to control. You attract them because you listen deeply. You don't judge quickly. You offer emotional safety. You assume good faith. The problem isn't who you are. The problem is who you allow access without limits. Empathy without boundaries invites exploitation. Empathy with boundaries creates respect. Final thought. The goal is not to become colder. It's to become clearer. You don't need to close your heart. You need to guard your access. When empathy and boundaries coexist, manipulative people and healthy people finally step forward. If this video helped you recognize social patterns more clearly, subscribe and join the community. The next video may help you protect your energy in ways you never learned before.